Just got in a new set of custom grazing cows here. These are actually my dad's. He brought in some little bit of everything for us. It makes it a little more difficult, but working with dad will make it work here. So we got 33 breeding eight. No, one of them dropped a calf this morning. She's coming tonight with the calf before the storm comes, hopefully, or in the morning after the storm. So there's 32 cows in here. A bull. I got to add it all up. There's 32 breeding age females, a bull. Some of these are second calf heifers. Some of them are first calf heifers. We got 6 calves on the ground. When they bring that other cow and calf, we'll have 7 calves. So we're pretty excited about it. They're getting trained. I'm going to flip you around. I'm going to show you kind of what we do. There's a few things that are very important if you're going to bring in fresh babies or anything under 5 months. So a lot of what we have here at this rental farm is single wire high tensile electric fence. And I'll flip you around. Well, you can see it here. So this is all running about 30 inches off the ground. And that works really well for anything over 500 pounds. And out in the pasture works fine for calves, because calves will actually creep feed their way underneath it. They'll be able to go under, come back to mom. And, you know, up to 300-400 pounds, that's not a big deal for me in the way that I do it. If it bothers you, or if you're running sheep and you don't want them to do that, you know, you can always put up a second wire or put up a temporary wire underneath this one for when, just while they're young, until they get 500 pounds where they're going to get hit by it. So kind of that nose level is kind of where you want it to be. But it is nice, especially just rotating through open pastures, where you don't have any what I call hard fences, things that the calves can't get through. Then the calves will go under and they'll come back to mom. You don't have to worry about them too much. Every time someone in my family has a conversation about moving calves, I've got a couple things that come to mind here. A few stories, if you will. One of the most important things you have to do is you have to make sure that mother and baby have touched noses before you turn them out. So what I like to do is I like to bring them into a pen. This is a really great example. It's got solid wires all the way around it. You know, so whether you're using these big panels like this or some kind of paneling like this, you've got to have something that those calves can't slip through and then just run until they meet mom's nose. You can't trust that calf's not just going to lose his mind and run. One time we were helping a guy deliver some cattle. He bought them from us the summer before. We calved him out. Everything was going good. He had a place to move them to. And so we kicked him out. And he had a pretty good pen. But at the turnout spot, he had about 10 yards of one single, and it was a big white tape. So it was easy for a cow to see, especially one that had seen Hotwire before. But one of those calves slipped under it. And I forget every time. You know, I get used to working with cattle, but if you get around somebody who's not as used to working with cattle, what you find quickly is that human beings are predators. And so that calf slipped under that hot wire, and that guy immediately took off chasing it. That calf was gone for 4 days. Luckily, you know, he got on the four-wheeler, got it worked up. And I've heard horror stories about people killing calves that way, running them so hard they get pneumonia. That just adds a lot of stress. You're better off, if you can, just walk away. That cow's going to call that calf back. That's the best. If you do get yourself into a situation like that, the best thing I can tell you is just walk away. Go back, you know, that night, the next morning. That calf wants to go to that cow. But if you've got a truck running, a car running, even a four-wheeler, that calf can't hear mom. They get scared and they will just put their head down and run sometimes. Not all the time, but the best thing you could do is put them in a hard fence where they can't get through and escape. And then, so what we'll normally do is we'll have all the calves on one trailer. And then, so like here, this really works well because we've got a little pin there, a little catch pin that leads up into the chute. And so I'll lock the calves in there if we're going to be running multiple runs or I don't have enough space or something like that. And that keeps them protected, keeps the cows from, you know, stepping on them, and then keeps them from just taking off until all the cows are here. Then we'll mix them together, make sure they get paired up, and then we'll go out. And so the next step, the other thing that I think about when we're moving calves, if they haven't ever been hot wire trained, it's difficult. You got to make sure, you can't just bring untrained cattle to a stock farm like this that is intentionally intensively rotational grazed. I mean, I move these cattle about every 3 days, sometimes once a day, sometimes once a week, depending on where I'm at. But the goal is to do it as much as possible and as much as necessary, depending on the conditions. But if you just kick a calf out here underneath this hot wire, or you run a cow out here, you can't see it in the video, but this is a single wire 12 gauge high tensile electric fence that's reading 7,000 volts, and it really hurts if you hit it. But if a cow comes out off a trailer and she's scared, most cattle aren't as gentle as mine, and even mine, once they get scared, they get worked up. You kick a cow out against that thing and it's gone. Boom. They're going to run through it. They're going to get shocked. They're going to get nervous. They're going to get scared. They don't understand. And all your electric fence is going to be gone. So get a place where you can kick them out. Like this hard fence here works really well. Or what I've done a lot of times with some other custom grazing is kick them out in this pen over here. And it's got 3 high tensile wires. They're all hot, really, really hot fence. I mean, 7 to 12,000 volts. I don't like to see anything less than 6, especially in a training area. When I was a kid, Grandpa used to say, 2,500 volts will hold a cow, and it will until they get hungry or scared or excited, or, they just decide one day they want out. 6,000 volts is where I want to be. I feel pretty comfortable with that. Not many cows are going to test that, but there's 3 wires over there, about 30, another one hit it, 30 to 40 inches, and that has been working pretty good. The other thing is, it's in the middle of the farm. It's not a perimeter fence. It's not up against a road. So if they hit that and they do decide to jump it for some strange reason, we've still got them contained on the farm. There's hard fences around the farm in this area, and they're going to figure that electric fence out before too long, and they're going to come back to the other cows. I've never seen more than 3 cows want to jump something like that at a time. So it's not, if you've got a bunch of wild cattle, it's probably still not the best. Put them in a hard fence, like panels, something like that, wire panels. And the best thing you could do is put them in a hard fence of wire panels and stuff like this if you have the time. Run a hot wire around the inside so that they have to go up and do it. I've heard of people hanging tin cans on it, tying, plastic bags on it, soda cans, something shiny and something that's going to conduct electricity is best, so they put their nose on it. Because the first thing a curious animal does, they put their nose on it, and it's going to shock the snot out of them. They're never going to want to touch it again, and that's what you want. It may sound cruel if you don't have a lot of experience with livestock, but the best thing you could do is absolutely make that animal afraid for its life. Because with hot wire and electric fence, that's the goal. You don't want them to suffer by continually testing it. You don't want them to go through it and get out in a situation where they could hurt somebody, hurt themselves. That fence is there for a reason, and you don't want them to ever have to test it again. So the best thing you do is have it super hot, let them hit it once to train, and then let them be afraid of it for the rest of their lives, where they don't even want to get close to it. And with good hot fences like this, that's the way hot wire is supposed to work. A smart cow is never going to test a hot wire after they get. Now, I'm not saying that, you let them get hungry, you let them get thirsty, you have a management issue where you push them too hard against a single wire electric fence. Issues are going to happen, but those are management issues. Those are our fault as grazers and as, farmers. It's not necessarily the animal's fault. So a good hot wire fence and a good training program solves 90% of your problems. The rest of it's probably management, and we all can do a better job of that. Sometimes we have to learn the hard way, but that's another video. We want to be able to manage these cattle in a way that works for them and for us. Because if an animal's stressed, we're losing money, they're losing weight. It's not just all about money, but those things are important too. So I'm gonna flip you around. We'll go walk through these girls real quick. Where they're at now, we decided it was going to be difficult to get them from this pen over into that pen with all the baby calves, because some of these are like 2-3 days old. One cow in here, I just saw her water break, so we're gonna have a new calf here hopefully in the next hour or two. But back over here, there's a panel woven wire fence, and then inside that woven wire, so the calf can't get through it. And then there's a hot wire on the inside, so that makes pretty good training too. Not perfectly ideal if your cows have never experienced electric before, but these have seen it, and we shouldn't hopefully have any issues there. I've already seen about 10 cows test the fence, so I think we've pretty well almost gone through most of the training process. They've got their heads down, they're grazing, they're not too worried about it. They were just kind of curious. So that's what we want. We want just about every one of them to hit that fence, learn what it is, be afraid of it, then we don't have to deal with it again. So this is the turnout pen here. You can see it's got panels all the way around it. It's a good place to drop them. If we're dropping baby calves, this is what I want. Even better if it had a hot wire around the inside as far as training. But you know, for loading and unloading, it's not very safe. You don't want that up your loading alley. You don't want to be pushing a calf in and get your butt shocked. I don't want to be doing it. I'm pretty scared of my wire too, if we're being honest. I'd go shut it off before I mess with it. And that's the way I like it. So got the herd coming up here, and like I said, we got a little bit of a mix. We got a bull in here, good young bull. Actually, Dad bought him for me. A little support there. You could see why, you know, if the cattle aren't trained to electric fence and they're in a hurry, you know, you can see it when you get up close to it. But if a cow's trying to run away from you or jumping off a trailer or something, I mean, yeah, they're gonna hit that. I would hit that, you know, driving on a four-wheeler if I didn't know it was there. That would really hurt. Be a bad situation. So there's the bull. Get out of the way, cow. Little 2-year-old there. But got some first calf heifers coming on. We've got one heifer that should be bred here pretty soon. There's some 6 calves over there. So to show you what I turn out some, I've been turning yearlings out into this because it's easier to back into than the other location. Oh, sorry, this is 4 wires. And so what my protocol is, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think they're all hot. And it's about hip height on me, so that's really not much more than 30 inches. I think you could raise one of those up. Wouldn't hurt anything, but it's unnecessary for the most part. This was old sheep fence. So we back up here and we just let them go. And a couple things about this and why this works pretty well with untrained cattle is that those cattle are trying to get away from us and they are shooting out over there. And then they've got about a pretty large area to get away from us. Their flight zone's taken care of, and I don't mess with them for a day or two. Normally what'll happen, so we've kicked bunches of, I don't know, 70, 50, and 80 out on this over the last 3 years. Normally what'll happen is they'll make a lap around the pond, and then 1 or 2 of them will go up and experience the fence. And most of the time that's all that happens until we try to get them out of here, which is, you know, a little bit more challenging. But we've got a solid gate over there they can see. We've got a solid gate here they can see, and then there's one down in that corner too. So it's set up really well. But of course, getting the cattle used to you is kind of a trick with the custom grazing cows. Some of them we've been using a little grain. So I'll grain them in here for a day or two, and then we'll take them out. And again, another reason this works so well is it's in a secure part of the farm. There's hard fences all the way around it. So even if they get out and they jump out because they got shocked, they're not going to go too far. They want to come back to the other cows. You know, so that's something that's pretty cool. It's a good training spot. And yeah, I don't know, you know, again, that getting them used to you is kind of the biggest thing right after you bring on a new set of cows. My voice is pretty similar to my dad's, according to most cows, when I'm driving the feed truck anywhere. At least the diesel truck sounds the same, but you know, they're not going to get any grain while they're here for the most part. So they got to get used to me calling them. And this actually works better where I'm just going to go up to that gate and I'll call them, and then I'll kind of walk away the first few times. But the biggest thing I could say is, if, you know, in the training process, is don't pressure them. You know, that is one of the biggest mistakes I made. I think the first time we came in here, we brought in, like, that was the second year, we brought in 80 heifers, and they wouldn't go out that gate up there. And I should have just left them alone. It really didn't matter, but I was young and dumb. And so I got around them. I walked around the pond and tried to push them. and that, you know, they just, when you push them, they're not looking for a gate, then they're looking for an escape, so they just jumped it. I did have about 3 of them do that, and they never did it again. They never jumped another fence on this farm, but just once they got used to me, it wasn't a big deal. But if you pressure cattle against high tensile fence, single wire, multi-wire, and it's short like that, they're going to try to get away from you if they're not used to you, and they're, you know, the temperament hasn't been trained into them. But for me, if I can't handle them after about a week, they're going back home, or they're going to somebody's freezer. So you know, genetics definitely has a little bit to do with it. Handling has a lot to do with it. But you could see these cows I got from Dad, they're pretty gentle. They don't really care. They're just glad to see some green grass. So hope you guys like this video. Like, subscribe, follow for more, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.